Hello Internet, here's how to remove/delete the rear heater unit in the back of your Toyota HiAce van. This includes the coolant lines under the floor. To do this, you'll need the following: multi-grip pliers, a 5 litre oil drain pan. I lost about 2.5 litres of coolant.
I got 25, but you'll need 40 centimeters.
Of 14mm in a diameter radiator hose. I could only get about 12.7mm in the diameter tube at the time. It turned out to be very tight, but I did get it on and it works fine. 2 20mm hose clamps and something to tighten them up. I just used my impact driver for this. 3 litres of coolant, ground cover like cloths or rags. I would recommend, but it is optional, to have waterproof gloves, safety glasses because coolant in your face isn't very nice, a caliper to measure the diameter of the tubes if your van is different, but I imagine the sizes for all 200 series HiAces would be the same. I did kill my cheap caliper with getting coolant inside of it though, whoops. Some useful information: the inner diameter of the rubber coolant lines that come from the heater core assembly in my particular HiAce were 14mm. And the outside diameter was 30mm. I lost about 2.5 litres of coolant doing this, so I'd have about at least 2.5 to 5 litres of coolant ready on hand. How long did it take? Well, removing the coolant lines took me about 30 minutes, and removing the heater unit from the inside took me about 10 minutes. So all in all, it's about a 45 minute process. So step 1, park the van on flat ground. Let it sit with the engine off to cool down for at least an hour, the more the better. I did this with the van off for only about 30 minutes after driving it. It was doable, but the coolant was still a bit hot, but I had gloves and safety glasses on. Step 2, get under the van, put some rags, cloths or some sort of ground cover down to absorb all the coolant spills, because coolant is a corrosive material and it's not great for the earth. Step 3, put your PPE on. Step 4, locate where your heater unit is underneath the van. Get the multi-grip pliers, remove those hose clamps. Now you'll see later on in the video that the alloy metal part is actually very soft. I don't know if this is because my van's nearly 20 years old, but it's a very soft metal alloy. So when you're gripping it with your multi-grip pliers, be very gentle. Don't squish the part of the metal. I turned mine into basically an oval shape accidentally. It wasn't a big issue. I just kind of gripped it and smushed it back to a circle. I didn't break it or anything. It was totally fine. But yeah, just be quite careful with gripping around the metal part of the tube. Then remove the rubber hose that's lowest to the ground. What I did, as I was nervous about the hot coolant and the pressure in the system, was grip the hose and start to wiggle it off slowly. Then once the coolant started to leak out a little bit, I let it drip down slowly. And then once I determined that it wasn't going to explode on my face, I pulled it off a little bit more and it started to flow down. And then eventually I just pulled the whole tube off. This isn't an essential step, but this is where I measured the diameters of the tube. You might want to do this just to double check that you definitely got the right tube before like going out and buying the 12 inches of coolant tube. But like I said, it should be the same in a diameter of 14mm. But I used 12.7mm tube and it was a tight fit, but it worked just fine.
I got a length of this. This is 12.7mm in a diameter. Some hose clamps.
See, this is warped. Probably because of me.
See how I fucked that up?
And try and like gently mangle it back to a circle, because otherwise that won't seal properly. There you go. Sorry if I'm blocking the camera. I don't have any way of telling.
Now you're about to see another thing I will note. is that the tube is so brittle. Do not put any force on that metal tube. Make sure you support it from the rear. And it still pains me to watch this part of when I push this on. It didn't break, it was fine. Oh, my heart sank when that happened. Yeah, I ended up ripping the foam off that alloy tube and checking on it. It was totally fine, I just bent it back in place.
So I was trying to push this on so it's covering that metal bit, that exposed bit, and as I pushed it, it bent this and this went. So I'm really hoping I didn't just break that. If I try and rotate it. Let's put a hose clamp on it. Clamp. Don't do it too tight. Don't do it too tight because this is an aluminium alloy tube, and if you do it too tight, you can actually squish the tube and you could break it even further. Like, that was just 2 clicks of my Milwaukee drill there. I could totally do it by hand, but to make it easy and quick, use. Yeah, so remember, don't squish the fucking thing too hard. Grab the back of it and just wiggle it off. Better put the O clamp on before you do anything. Alright, better release this. Slide that O clamp on. Give it a little bit of a time just to help it stay on there a bit. 2, because you want to make sure it still has a nice good flow. See, that's, no, you don't want that. See that kink there? Terrible. This is 25 centimeters. I probably should have got 40, 50 centimeters just to be on the safe side. That'll work. I just don't like that restriction. This shit happening in the end. This is also the step that you check that you definitely have that clamp ready to go on the end of the tube. Just gonna tighten that. The bend's not too bad. Could be better. So how much coolant did I lose out of that? Under 3 litres, so we'll say 2.5. And before I did this was at full. So it's at low now. Basically on low. Yeah, on this side it's completely empty.
15 minutes later.
Okay, so I know I've removed 2 and a bit litres, so that's 4, and there's 3, so it's definitely removed 2, and I've put back in 2 litres. My question is, do I need to bleed the system? Because I didn't fully drain it. There is instructions to bleed it here. It says, you know, remove the air. I don't know if I need to do that, because I didn't drain the system. I don't know how much air is in there. I filled it back up to the full line. All I got to do now is turn the engine on.
A few moments later.
Just turn the engine on. It raised a little bit. Looking good. No leaks. It's raising. I've just revved it up 2 grand for a few seconds to increase that engine temp, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was literally fine. After I drove it home, I checked on it again, and the engine heated up to its normal operating temperature, and it was back at its normal level. So I didn't have to bleed the system. It sort of leveled itself out by adding in those 2.5 litres of coolant. So yeah, it's fine. Okay, so this is the inside unit of the heater. Yours might look a bit different. This is the Grand Cabin model, so there's carpet around it. So from what that looks like, there's a bolt here, a bolt there, and there's a bolt behind it. They're all 10mm bolts, but they've also got the Phillips head screwdriver thing in it. Don't forget the wire for the fan. So there's the wire harness comes up behind here, which goes underneath into the chassis. Well, just looking at it further, and you look through this hole, there's the harness, there's the connector of that harness that goes through this hole. So just disconnect that and just pull this rubber grommet out and just pull the whole harness through. That's probably the easiest way and quickest way. Alright, so I think I'm just going to unbolt the whole unit to give me a better view of what's in that wire. There we go. And there's our coolant lines that we disconnected earlier. Where does this wire go? There it goes into that guy. Right. Obviously I'm going to need to find something to cover this big gaping hole. For now I'm just going to tape it. If you got a better solution, I'll probably weld a bit of metal over it or something. Or you could reuse it for something else, for the wiring or something, you know, if you're doing a camper van conversion, that might come in handy. Might be able to use it as like a drain hole for a sink or something if you put a sink in here. I also let this drain for about 4 days. Okay, so I've removed the wiring harness that went through this hole. The coolant pipes went through this hole. Given a bit of a clean up and a vacuum, I cut this carpet in half as well to give it easy access for cleaning. And you should be left with this and this. The grommet from this was foam, it's completely disintegrated. The grommet from this is attached to the wiring harness, so the only way to get the grommet back from this is to actually snip that wiring harness and pull the grommet out. As you can see, my van's got a little bit of rust around the coolant inlet hole here, so I'm just going to take care of that. This is totally extra, but I'll probably just sand this down a bit till it's bare metal and put some Rust-Oleum paint over it, and then probably just cover it with tape for now, and yeah, probably weld some bit of steel onto that later or something. There was some weird gunk on here. I've cleaned it up just with some simple green cleaner. I actually bet that this is coke. It's very sticky. It looks like it's been there for many years. Yeah, pretty sticky, gross stuff. There's also a grommet here and a grommet there as well. But yeah, that's what you're left with. Boom! Heater removed. Like and subscribe.